So in all of your albums, in your music, you choose deliberately to never call a female you know, a bitch.
The B word?
Yeah, the B word,
Yeah.
right? And I'd like to just kind of go into in today's world where
Sure.
words are used loosely and they're kind of just thrown out like
Yeah.
they're just shot around, and
Yeah.
certain words could do a lot of damage, and you don't want to be. Look, I know, it's as a hip hop artist, as a musician, there's a certain like level of street cred you want to keep, and when you say, okay, these are things I'm not going to do that are the norm, like I want to know where that came from, man. Like,
I would hear about it, I think, if I did it. I'm surrounded by women that just not feeling that. I would hear about it if I did something like that. My mother would say something. My wife would say something. I mean, I think that, every artist has, I don't care who you are, every artist, it could be the most foul-mouthed artist on the planet. They have a short list of things that they will not do or they won't talk about. That just happens to be on mine, And I think that I love plenty of songs that use the word. I love plenty of artists that use the word. I mean, I've been listening to Too Short for 30 years. You know what I mean? I bought those tapes when I was 11 years old. Those Too Short tapes when I was 11 years old. I hear it every day.
Yeah.
I hear people say it in everyday language, male and in everyday speech, male and female. It's just not something that I choose to do, And I think for myself, it took me a long time to sort of realize, toxic masculinity is a real thing, And I think that we need to kind of help each other, particularly as men. We need to help each other get away from that and identify that kind of behavior and help get away from it.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in an era where, that word was used as, it ain't nothing but a word to me.
Yeah.
That's the era that I grew up in,
Yeah.
And I grew up where it was perfectly acceptable. It was perfectly acceptable to use that word in front of other women, it's not okay. It's not okay. And I think.
But where do you learn that? Because I had to learn the hard way. It's like I come from an environment, a generation where like that locker room hyper masculinity
Totally.
nomenclature is kind of like just accepted, and then you bring it into certain environments and you shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
But then, I was talking to a friend the other day, that guy who gave me the cell phone. We talked about this, and we're talking about like it's surprising that there is not a manual, right? If you don't have like proper like father figure in your house, like where do you learn how to treat and talk about women and what not to say, or talk about homosexuality? Like when I came into town, man, where I grew up, like everybody used the word gay. That's gay, that's hella gay,
Right.
that's gay, you're gay, this gay. And then it was not, I didn't even know what a homosexual was. I never met one. Like I didn't care. There was no like prejudice I had, but I used it in my daily words. And then when I would meet gay people and they would hear me talk, imagine, like I think about it, the way the change was forced on me. It wasn't because someone stopped and said, hey man, you shouldn't do that, or that's not PC. It was really, I saw the effect it would have on people that cared about me,
Right.
and that loved me.
Yeah.
And then they saw that word as like that, attacking them or discriminating, and the hurt that word would use, right?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not that guy. And I sit back and I would remind, I go, how come I was never taught this, man? How
Right.
come no teacher sat me down or no mentor sat me down? It's like, yo, you don't use these words. You don't call women bitches, and you don't use fags and gay and stuff,
Right.
because these are the consequences. And if I didn't fix that problem until my 30s,
Right.
what about the kids that never have that opportunity, right?
Yeah, well, I think, as time goes on, society changes, and it tends to correct itself, you know what I mean? And I think, like I said, I mean, I had a very opinionated, strong mother, and there's certain shit she just wasn't going for,
Yeah.
And so that helped. I think number one, that helped, You know, she had very strong opinions on gender roles, you know, and or you know, sort of blurring the boundaries on gender roles. You know, I was for the most part, I was raised by a single mother, you know, and so I think that's where that comes from. And I think, you know, I think also to a certain degree, you know, why were we not aware that these words are bad? Well, I think sometimes the fish don't know that they're swimming in water.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's until that it's pointed out to them that, hey man, it's not cool. You know, da 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 da. I've had guys pull me aside when I was a kid and be like, look, man, shouldn't really say that. And I listen to them.
Yeah.
I listen to them.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's really important for, you know, for other men to have that discussion with men. You know what I mean? Because if you're speaking a certain way about a certain group, and then that group corrects you, sometimes it's not as effective as if you're as if your group says something about it.
It's like waking up a sleepwalker. Well,
it is.
I feel like for some people, they'll get super sensitive and then they won't even hear the message.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
You should have just said that.
Yeah, but I like metaphors.
I like that metaphor.
I like that,
though.
though.
Now that it's been explained.
Thank you.
I like how you trying to hog up the airtime, like giving a metaphor that nobody understands, so you have to explain it. So you get double the real estate of the words. No, I'm saying, it's smart. It's smart. No, it's smart. Anyway.
Damn, that's funny.
Yeah, you know, so that's something that, you know, I've been talking to my, you know, my buddies that are, you know, raising sons these days. It's like, you know, what is this, like, you know, do the right thing manual for, like, you know, men towards other men, or just, you know, you as a dude, like you growing up, and you know, with your mom raising you, she seemed to have passed off to you like a certain, you know, list of rules, right? And you abide by it, and it's been proven that you follow these rules, and these are the effects, or these are the consequences. Like you're given almost the owner manual of how to become a man, right? But there's so many dudes, man, that don't have that. Like they don't even know the basic of, like, what's do the right thing. Simply just do the right thing, man. You know, and it's like, yo, you don't call a woman this, you don't do this. Even things like, yo, you treat a woman like a lady. You open the door. There's certain chivalry. It's like equality is great, but then ladies still want to be treated like ladies. Like it's my wife wants to be treated, be told that she's beautiful. She wants to be loved on, and whatever your definition is, that is that. But then I was taught that. You know, I was taught like you have to treat women a certain way. So I can't deviate because I would feel like I'm doing some, like, you know, sin, you know, like I'm sinning if I treat it. But then what are, like, if you had a list of like basic principles as a father now, right? It's like for the dudes out there that maybe that don't have this manual, like, what are the fundamental principles that you would suggest?
Well, I think for the most part, I mean, it's cliche, but you really have to lead by example. So I think he probably sees the way that I treat his mother. You know what I mean? And, you know, especially when you're a boy, your dad is like, it's fucking Superman. You know what I mean? And I think, like, I know mine was. Whatever my dad said, that's got to be true because he's my dad, you know. So if you are passing down that sort of toxic behavior, then you will interpret that as law. You know what I mean? But if you're passing down a different set of behaviors, then that will be interpreted as law too. You know what I mean? So I think I probably had to correct him a couple times if he said some stuff that wasn't, like, you know, that was insensitive or something. You know, I probably I don't remember what those are off the top, but that's just sort of part of parenting, you know.
Right.
And I think that, but I think by and large, he probably is going to see how we interacted on a daily basis, how we interacted, in my wife and I, how we interacted in great times, how we interacted during crisis, you know what I mean? And that's probably going to provide him with the manual, the roadmap that you're talking about. I would hope, you know, I would hope. And then, you know, just got to do a little correction along the way, you know, like if certain isolated incidents pop up and you're like, nah, I shouldn't really do that. I shouldn't really say that, you know, and this is why, and this is why, you know, yeah, there's been moments like that where I've had to do that, but I mean, that's why they're children. That's why they're children, you know, and the instant that they see, that they observe correct behavior, or the instant that you correct them on their behavior, they've just matured a little bit, you know, that they've just matured a little bit. And then hopefully all these slices, you know, create a loaf, you know what I mean, once they're older. And then, but I mean, look, we're also human. We're going to do some stupid shit, you know what I mean? We're going to say some things that are, and do some things sometimes that are contrary to the way that we were raised, you know, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen. But I think, you know, insensitivity, sensitivity, intolerance, these are all learned behaviors, you know what I mean? So maybe you're learning it from your parents, maybe you're learning it from your friends, you know. All that shit can happen. You know, when I was a kid, man, it was like the most popular, admirable dudes when I was a kid were the ones that had the most girlfriends. You know what I mean? Didn't matter how they felt, how the girlfriends felt, you know. It was like, this was our idea of masculinity and a man and this kind of stuff. And I think in retrospect, now I see that's not really necessarily true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it just sort of, if it's not done properly, you know, it can create a situation where it can create pain, you know? And I do believe, you know, toxic masculinity, it's a thing, man. It's real, you know? And it is something that I feel like generation by generation, it's getting better. You know, but it's because we're able to have these conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, we went to a restaurant the other day, man, and it was not good. The restaurant was not good. The three of us, and I went, "Oh my God, I hate this food. This food was terrible. I'm never coming back here again. The food tasted bad, the service was bad, et cetera, et cetera." And my 10-year-old goes, "Yeah, you know, Daddy, I agree. I hated that food. That food was terrible. This service sucked. Da 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 da." And I'm just like, whoa. He just took everything I said word for word. If I would have said the opposite, he probably would have said the opposite too. And now I'm hearing him talking about how he hates shit and how the service sucked and da 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 da. And I'm like, that didn't make me feel good hearing him say those things, you know. So it made me kind of check myself on, okay, they model their behavior after yours, you know, and it's easy to lose sight of that as an adult sometimes, you know. And so, like I said, I mean, hopefully I'm setting a better example than that on average. You know?
It's great that you're aware of that.
Well, I heard it, and he, word for word, he said everything that I said, you know, but it's different when you hear a 10-year-old speaking so strongly, you know, like he doesn't understand the context, you know, like for me, you know, we say, "Oh God, I hate that shit." You know, that doesn't mean a lot to you and me. But when you hear a child use the word hate, it's just different. You know, it just.
How can they hate it? It was free.
Right.
What do they hate about it? The service. Like, what service you need? We ordered for you.
Right. That's right.
What kind of service does a kid need? Right?
Yeah.
You ain't paying the check.
That's true.
Yeah, nothing. You were driven here. You eat. You're fed. You're ordered for.
Yeah.
And you get a dessert option.
Dessert. Totally.
Yeah. That's great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on toxic masculinity in your case, hip hop, and in your case, car culture, racing, all that stuff? Like,
Well, that's a
what
good
are your thoughts
question.
on that?
That's a good question.
Go ahead.
I think it's a problem, and I think it's a problem it's a problem. It's a big problem in society. I think it's too acceptable for us to put it in music, you know. But I think that the fact that it is in music, I don't know if it should be viewed solely as a genre problem. More so, well, no, it is a genre problem also. It's a genre problem also because, hip hop can be boastful. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we try to outdo each other with positive and negative things, And so, yeah, I think it's an issue. But it's a societal issue, and the fact that we as a society are okay with these things being said, that says a lot about us also, you know what I mean? And I think that there's real consequences, that come along with that. And I think that, again, we're going to get more mileage out of changing. We're going to get more mileage out of peer-to-peer conversations in changing that than I think like condemnation or, I think it's more effective to you pull your homie aside and be like, hey man, it's not really cool, let's try to do it a little differently,
Well, to rephrase the question a little bit, what do you think is going right in terms of, those things improving in the genre?
Well, I mean, the fact that we're having conversations about it freely, and I think the fact that men are having conversations about it more frequently and more freely, that's a big step. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think my father's generation would have ever discussed this. I don't remember my dad ever sitting down and talking to me about behavior about women, as it relates to women. I don't think I ever heard him have that conversation with me. Now, I had a very old school stoic Japanese father, that didn't talk a lot about anything, So I don't know that he would have anyway, I mean, his favorite line was when I'd ask him questions was, "You don't need to know," which is like, okay, just shut that down. You know what I mean? I guess that subject's off limits. You know what I mean? But this generation and the next generation is different, and I think, like I said, I think peer-to-peer and kind of man-to-man conversations they're really important.
Hypermasculinity in the car culture, like in what racing?
Toxic masculinity in those communities. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a human condition. It's the masculine human condition of males needing to have bigger, faster, more expensive. It's part of history. Everybody wants to. Some dudes, because maybe the environment you've grown up in, you were taught that. It was your condition brainwashed to go, coolness, masculinity is how fast you go, or how loud you go, or how expensive, or how your truck is, or how big the engine is, all that stuff, right? And I look at it and go, some of it I look at as very positive because it's a simple place to put that energy. And there's communities. There's always communities. There's car communities are, to me, important because it's a physical activity that families can do. And yes, it's masculine because it's racing. It's never going to change. I want kids in the future to be able to have a competitive experience on the track, to want to go faster, to build something bigger. But then in between, as you get older, you realize it's a journey. It's a journey of community, and you build things together, you race together, and hopefully you get stuff out of it. And masculinity to me is in some places is exerted properly. It's necessary. I think it's necessary as long as I think vocabulary is guided. It's led by example, right? And it's not the word. My definition of masculinity is not oh, you're superior because you're a male. I think it's this more of a ethos of just this cowboy spirit. Let's race. Let's get on the horses. Who's going to go faster? Let's who's going to have the craziest car this year? And why are we building that? That has a depreciating value. Well, it's because we got to spend time in the garage together. And so, to me, to be able to pass down kind of mentorship, and if at times there's lessons to be learned because masculinity is used in the wrong way, I think it's a great place of learning, right? And it's cast the characters. You can have the greatest intention, and if you have self-motivated individuals, right, that are not there for the proper reasons, it's going to reflect on the car and the build and the experience, right? So I feel like at times we need more of it today because everyone's on the computer. Like masculinity is like, the hyper masculinity that people talk about today is not the hyper masculinity I grew up with. It was chauvinistic and backwards from my father's generation, but I didn't have video games that were like killing kids and raping people and pillaging villages, man. So what's that? Is that masculinity or is this pure violence? In a garage building the car, we're not talking about pillaging people, or shooting somebody in the face, man. It's just like, who's gonna get there faster? That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not very violent. It's not hyper anything. I go, what's hyper about it? It's like with the turbos, right? It's like, man, you look at the Fast and Furious movies, dudes are making fluorescent green cars. Not too masculine, right? It's more like, what is that, dude? Some of it is a little, it's a little goofy. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
More or less, yeah.
Roundabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
But for you and Racer M, did your dads talk to you anything about that?
About masculinity? No, well, they taught me the John way. My dad taught me the John way. So you get, hey, I got bullied, I got beat up. Oh yeah, where does he live? It's like, what? It's like, where does he live? You got to go and defend yourself. He punches you, you punch him back. They jump you, you go hunt him down. Right? And you go, what? But that's how I grew up. And is that masculinity, or is that, you need to just, he would say, you got to man up. I go, what does that mean? Right? And you're scared as a kid. You're scared, you're petrified. Yeah. But he would literally drive me in front of the house of a kid that would bully me. And then we would rehearse like some boxing moves, jab, jab, punch. And then we would rehearse the whole thing, like ringing on the doorbell, hey, asking the mom if Billy's there, and then you jab and you punch right across the eye. And then he'll never mess with you again because he thinks you're crazy. Right in the doorway. Right? But that was a different era. We didn't have guns and gangs. Like the kids wouldn't come back and all of a sudden do a drive-by. Right. But that was like the small town way of like, you grow up, you defend yourself. They push you, you push back, right? That was the way I grew up. And also, in terms of how to treat women is that, you pull the chair out, you drive, you pay for the bill. It's the chivalry. It's like, to me, when I see a dude, like, and you're dating this girl and you're into her and you go, let's split the check. I go, man, who taught you that? I don't subscribe to that. As long as she's not some hoochie trying to like take advantage of you. If you're into it,
split the check.
Right? You go, I don't come from that generation.
Can I just say I love splitting the check?
Do you?
But continue, please.
To your wife?
Yes, I do.
Me too.
To your wife?
We split the check.
No.
Not always.
What?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I don't live by that. I live by my money is your money. If you're my wife, you own everything I own. That's just the way. I don't know where that came from. That's very cowboy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Proceed. Continue.
So that's anyway.
My dad never took me aside and told me about what the definition of masculinity was, but it was something that when it showed itself, I love you, Dad, but it was very narrow. It was like, if I'm wearing something like yellow or something really colorful, it would be like, what do you think those girls are going to think of you?
He would say that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I love you, Dad. But, yeah.
Interesting.
And it was one of those things where I think even now he has maybe a little bit of a difficult time accepting. But when I think back, like I remember the stories he told me about his dad.
Like accepting what your wardrobe choices?
Well, I mean, like just in terms of one of those things where it's like, if you're a guy, you should dress up in less colorful things.
Oh, right.
And if it's colorful, then it's feminine,
Feminine.
or gay, like that kind of thing. And
See? I mean, where do you get that? You taught that, right?
Yeah.
Where did he get that?
Yeah.
Right?
And I got to say, though, as a parent,
Yeah.
I'm like really looking forward to educating my son in a different way. I really look forward to that.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't wait to tell him you can wear whatever you want. You want to dye your hair pink. You want to, whatever you want to do, man. It has no bearing on.
But you think you're setting him up for, you're going to throw him into the wolves? Like, yeah, in your home, that's all nice and it's all hippie and musician-like, but then he shows up in like some fluorescent, outfit expressing himself, and then he gets jumped.
Well, then we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that, But I think that, so the underlying message, though, I think, is that I can't. It's a point of pride for me to be able to say to him, "Look, don't worry about what other people think. It's more important that you're happy with who you are. And you can't subscribe to other people's definitions of masculinity or what's acceptable and da 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 da. If it creates problems for you, then we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
How you want to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we need to set the ceiling and not the floor. We need to establish the ceiling and not the floor. So, you don't want to live your life afraid to be who you are because of the way that other people may react.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I love doing that with him.
Yeah.
I love like maybe challenging all those norms that maybe our fathers
Yeah.
established.
I mean,
or lived with.
even like you see the world changing literally in front of you. Like,
Yeah.
I remember about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, my cousin, asked me to talk some sense into his like 13-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, her dream was to be the president of the United States. Now, she's born in the United States, born in the South. She's true American, but her aspirations were, she saw someone like, Obama, and she's like, hey, I could do this, or Hillary, she can, she felt like she could do that. And he was like, hey, talk some sense into her, that, that's delusional.
Oh, like to,
Yeah, and
really?
I was like,
Ooh.
why do you say that? Because he's from my generation. He's like, hey, man, maybe as an athlete or something, like he needed to see proof that it could work. Right. And I was like, where did he get that, man? It was almost like a castration.
Yeah.
Like a ceiling, like glass ceiling that was already like, it chopped his head off. Like castrated where he felt like he could exist in America.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of going to college and your parents like working at some liquor store in the hood in Georgia somewhere, right? And like making dollars at a time selling, whatever they're selling at some convenience store, to send you to college so you could go back and run the convenience store, right? And you go, where was that glass ceiling? And then you're passing that off to your kids going, you can't do this. And that's why, like, even this, the idea of Andrew Yang running for trying to become president, he's a little early, right? And, he's out. It wasn't going to work out. It was not in the cards for him to win. But the fact that he actually is there as proof that he's articulate, his policies are sound, he's not a moron, he's not doing it for all the wrong reasons. He actually, you listen to his message, you go, sincere dude, and happens to look like my dad or me, right? And you go, that's enough. You see the world changing in possibilities. And I, as a father, I go, that must be super exciting for you to see where your kid could go. He can go do anything, man. Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, my dream of being a baseball player, a professional baseball player in the Major League Baseball league in America was impossible because there were no other players that looked like me. And when other kids would make fun of me or a coach would say, hey, boy, there ain't no other, Orioles in the league, I'd go, true.
Right.
So what am I even striving for? But today's world, I could, if I grew up today, I don't know if I would have been an actor. There were many more possibilities to leave that impact, to leave that legacy.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And yet you chose, though, a profession probably on paper looked the most improbable that anybody from your background or generation could have ever picked.
Yeah.
You know,
It wasn't though. No, it wasn't. I didn't see it improbable because
but that's the point though. You didn't see it
no.
as improbable. You didn't see it as improbable.
No.
But someone else looking at that on paper could be like, "Oh, get this shit out of here." Hell no. And kind of like what your cousin said, that to me as a parent is that makes me more angry as a parent when I hear those stories that almost anything is when you feed your children poison that they can't do something that they can. I hate hearing those stories because you have just told you have just basically lopped off an entire world of possibility for that this child could have achieved. You know, it's like you know, you don't know what this person can go on to achieve. They can go on to help humanity. They can go on to, you know, create the next this or that that's going to help the entire world. And why? Because it wasn't possible for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it boils down to a lot of times. Is it's just what people think they are or are not capable of. You know, and when they pass that, oh, that'll never work. I had a teacher in the 10th grade. You know, tell me, oh, Japanese rapper, that'll be the day. You know what I mean? A teacher.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, and at that time I was going to Catholic school. My mother was paying him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, to say that kind of shit. And I what did I do? I told him, I was like, you know, da. The teacher said this to me. And my mother was like, oh, that's not acceptable. So she went to the principal and they went and talked to the dude. You know, because you can't really be in a position where you're mentoring children and tell them what they're not capable of doing. You should be doing everything that you can to be nurturing them and buoying them up and bolstering their confidence and building their skill set.
Absolutely.
So that they have a positive attitude about what they can do and their aspirations. I can't stand hearing those kind of stories because I know the effect that it has on young, impressionable children. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right.
And it's just disgusting to me. You know, it really is. Because not only are you depriving that child of, you know, their dreams, you're depriving the world of what this person may become and contribute to help everybody else in their lives somehow. You know, it's I can't stand hearing those stories. You know, that really breaks my heart. And as a parent, you know, every day, I say to him, you know, hey man, who's the best? You know, and he goes, me. And he said, and I say, why? And he goes, because I'm smart, I'm special, and I can do anything. You know what I mean? That is what we need to be every day. And because that is how we need to feel about ourselves. You know, doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
You know, but these are the kinds of things that we have to instill.
Words that need to be moving in your head as a mantra. Or I can't, or no, or impossible.
Yeah.
It's like a habit that you have to build over and over, repetition
that's
until
right.
you believe it.
Yeah, that's right. And subconsciously, hopefully that resonates and sort of, you know, builds that confidence and that will grow into something, you know.
What are those three? Say again.
You know, I ask him, I say, who's the best?
Who's the best?
He says, I am.
I am.
And I say, why? And he said, because I'm smart, I'm special, and I can do anything, you know.
You're smart, you're special, and you can do anything.
Really?
Yeah, it might be a little too late for Racer M.
All right. You're smart, you're special, and you can do anything. All right. See you guys next time. Be good.